My name is Megan Carter. If you've ever been the woman who pays everyone's bills, while they still treat you like you're not enough, drop a heart and tell me where you're watching from. Because what happened to me started as a family celebration and ended with me standing on a porch in the freezing dark, holding a trash bag like it was my whole life. Here's what I can tell you without spoiling the twist. I didn't mess up. I was set up. And the person who proved it wasn't who you'd expect. The night it happened, I was wearing a navy dress I bought on clearance because my sister insisted it looked professional enough to represent the family. That detail matters because the family I was representing had already decided I was disposable. The first time I felt it in my bones was at my stepmother's birthday party, when she smiled at me like a camera flash and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Megan, don't forget to bring the envelopes. You're good at that. You're the responsible one." Envelopes. She meant the cash gifts, the checks, the money. Because somehow in my family, responsible always meant you pay. I didn't always live like this, like a walking ATM with a pulse. I used to think if I worked hard enough, if I stayed calm enough, if I swallowed enough disrespect, things would soften. I didn't know some people don't soften. They sharpen. I grew up outside Columbus, Ohio, in a house that looked fine from the street. White siding, a maple tree, a swing set that never got used once my mom died. My mom passed when I was 9, a sudden medical complication. The kind people call tragic because they don't know what else to say. After she died, my dad, Rick Carter, did something I still can't fully explain. He didn't collapse. He didn't fall apart. He got quiet, like someone turned him off and forgot where the switch was. He worked more, spoke less, ate dinner staring at the TV like he was watching his own life happen to someone else. Then, less than a year later, he met Lynn. Lynn came into our house like she'd been living there all along. Perfect hair, crisp voice, a laugh that never reached her eyes. She told people she was saving our family. What she really did was replace my mother's absence with her own control. The first time I heard her correct me, it was in our kitchen. I was trying to make boxed mac and cheese. My hands were small. The pot was heavy. She plucked the spoon from my fingers and said, sweet as frosting, "No, honey, let me. You'll burn it." I remember thinking, okay, she's helping. Then she turned, still smiling, and told my dad, "She's going to need structure." Structure. That became Lynn's favorite word. Structure meant my room couldn't have posters. Structure meant my grief was attention-seeking. Structure meant if I cried, I got punished. When my dad married her, I stopped being a child in mourning and became a problem to manage. Lynn gave birth to my half-sister Haley when I was 13. The day Haley came home from the hospital, the entire house changed. The energy, the air, the way my dad suddenly had a purpose again, because now he had a baby who didn't remind him of the wife he lost. I watched him hold Haley, smiling like a man who remembered how. Lynn looked at me from across the room and said, low enough only I could hear, "Now we can finally move forward." Move forward meant move past me. By the time I was 25, I had turned myself into the kind of woman nobody could call lazy or dramatic or a burden. I worked, I studied, I stayed out of trouble. I got a business degree at night while working full-time during the day. I took internships nobody wanted. I built a career from scratch because I didn't have family connections. I had family weights. And when I finally landed my job, project manager at a logistics company, I felt proud in a way that made my chest ache. But pride doesn't pay therapy bills. Pride doesn't heal old wounds. And pride definitely doesn't protect you from relatives who see your stability as a resource they're entitled to drain. It started small. Can you help with Haley's cheer fees? Can you cover Dad's prescription? Just this once, Megan. I said yes because I was trained to believe love was measured in what I sacrificed. Then it got bigger. My dad's truck broke down. I paid. Lynn forgot her insurance payment. I paid. Haley wanted to rush a sorority. I paid. And the way they talked about it was what made me feel sick. Not thankful. Not grateful. Like it was normal. Like it was my job. Sometimes Lynn would even laugh and say, "Megan's the only one we can count on." Count on? Like I was a spreadsheet. And I kept doing it because I thought, if I'm useful, I'm safe. I didn't realize useful and safe don't live in the same house. Then came the call that changed everything. It was late October, the year I turned 32. My phone rang while I was in a meeting. I saw Lynn's name and felt the instant tension behind my eyes. I stepped into the hallway, whispering, "What is it?" She didn't even greet me. "Megan, your father's in trouble." My stomach flipped. "What kind of trouble?" She sighed like I'd inconvenienced her by needing details. "The mortgage is behind. The bank sent a letter." "The mortgage?" I repeated, confused. "How is the mortgage behind? Dad's been in that house." "It's complicated," she snapped. "Prices went up. Things happen. We need help." "Okay," I said, already calculating. "How much?" There was a pause, and in that pause, I could feel it. She was enjoying this. The control. The moment. 8,000, she said. $8,000? "Megan," she warned, like I was being dramatic. "I can't just—" I started. "You can," she cut in. "You have savings. You don't have children. This is what family does." That sentence hit me like a slap. You don't have children. Like my life was less real because I wasn't a mother yet. Like my time, my exhaustion, my plans, none of it counted. I said, slow, "I can help some, not all." Silence. Then Lynn's voice dropped into something colder. "So you're going to let your father lose his home?" "No," I said, heart pounding. "I'm saying I can do 4,000 this month, and we figure out the rest." She laughed. Actually laughed. "You're so corporate," she said. "Always with your little plans. It's simple. You cover it. You're the oldest. You owe him." I owed him. For what? For keeping me alive in a house that felt like emotional starvation? I felt heat crawl up my neck. "Lynn, I'm not doing this conversation like this." Her tone sharpened. "Fine, if you want to play that game, don't come to Thanksgiving." That was the first time she used a holiday as a weapon. It wouldn't be the last. Thanksgiving came. I went anyway, because I still had that sick little hope that things could be normal. I walked into my childhood house, carrying a pie like a peace offering. The scent of turkey and cinnamon was thick. The TV was loud. Haley's laugh floated from the living room. Lynn took one look at my pie and said, "You brought dessert. Good." Not thank you. Good. I sat at the table beside my dad. He looked older than I remembered, and that made my anger wobble. He didn't meet my eyes much. When he did, it was like he was asking me silently to keep the peace. Lynn's version of keeping the peace was keeping me small. Halfway through dinner, she set her wine glass down and said, casually, "So, Megan, did you decide what you're contributing?" The table went quiet. Haley stared like she was watching reality TV. My dad didn't speak. My throat tightened. "I said I could help 4,000 this month." Lynn tilted her head. 4,000 out of 8. "Yes." She smiled, and that smile felt like a knife wrapped in ribbon. "So you're letting your father drown halfway?" My chest burned. "That's not what I'm doing." Lynn's voice rose. "Then do the right thing." I looked at my dad. "Dad?" He cleared his throat, eyes on his plate. "Your stepmom's stressed, Meg." That was it. Not, "Thank you." Not, "We'll figure it out." Not, "I don't want your money." Just, "She's stressed." As if my entire adult life wasn't one long stress response. I pushed my chair back. "I'm not doing this at dinner." Lynn leaned forward. "You don't get to decide when we talk about family responsibilities." Responsibilities. Always that word. I swallowed, feeling the room tilt. "I'm not a wallet." Haley let out a little snort, like she couldn't help it. Lynn snapped her gaze at me. "Don't you dare play victim in my house." My house. Her house. Like my mother never existed. I stood up. My hands were shaking, but my voice came out steady. "I'm not playing victim. I'm setting a boundary." Lynn's laugh was sharp. "A boundary? Wow, look at you." I stared at my dad again, begging him without words. He finally looked up and said, tired, "Megan, just do it. You'll be fine. You'll be fine." That sentence is what broke something open in me, because it meant he believed I could absorb anything, so he would keep giving me things to absorb. I left that night feeling hollow, and 2 days later, Lynn sent me a spreadsheet, a literal spreadsheet. It listed family expenses like I was a sponsor of their entire lives. Mortgage shortfall, Haley's car payment, Dad's dental work, utilities, emergency cushion. At the bottom, in bold, it said, "Megan's contribution, $2,500 per month." My hands went cold. I stared at the screen like it was written in another language. Then I noticed something else. A second column. It was labeled, "If Megan declines." Next to it were notes like, "Withhold holiday access. Remind her she owes us. Family meeting. Public pressure." Public pressure. The note was casual, like bullying was just a strategy. I sat in my office staring at that spreadsheet, and for the first time in my adult life, I asked myself a question that felt dangerous. What if I stop? That was the moment I started to change. But change doesn't happen cleanly. Change comes with consequences, especially when you're changing inside a system that benefits from you staying the same. And Lynn? Lynn didn't like consequences. She liked control. So she did what controlling people always do when they feel you slipping away. She escalated. It happened at a company event. My firm hosted a holiday gala in early December. It wasn't fancy like a movie, just a downtown hotel ballroom, catered chicken, a DJ playing the same playlist every corporate party plays. But for me, it mattered. Because my job was the one place I'd built something nobody could take from me. I invited my dad and Lynn out of obligation. I told myself, maybe if they see my life, they'll respect it. They arrived late. Lynn wore a bright red dress like she wanted the room to notice her. Haley came too. 21, glossy hair, big smile, eyes always scanning like she was looking for the richest person in the room. Lynn kissed my cheek and said, "We're so proud." But the way she said it, like she was claiming credit, made my stomach twist. I was in the middle of greeting a vendor when Haley grabbed my wrist. "Meg," she whispered, eyes wide, "that guy over there, who is he?" I followed her gaze. Across the room stood Ethan Cross, my company's biggest client. Private equity, logistics investments, the kind of man who made the whole room subtly rearrange itself around him. Tall, calm, expensive suit. The kind of presence that doesn't try to be intimidating because it doesn't have to. He was speaking to my CEO, and when he laughed, people leaned in like they wanted to be part of it. I felt my chest tighten. Because Ethan Cross wasn't just a client. He was the reason I'd been promoted last spring. He'd praised my work directly. He'd told my CEO, "Keep her, she's the reason this deal works." And my family was now staring at him like he was a winning lottery ticket. Haley whispered, "He's hot." Lynn's eyes narrowed, bright and calculating. "Oh," Lynn said softly. "Interesting." I should have known then. I should have grabbed my coat and walked out. But I stayed, because I didn't want to be paranoid. I didn't want to believe my own family could sabotage me in public. That's what women like me do. We keep giving people chances even when the evidence says stop. The night blurred into speeches and small talk. I sipped club soda because I had an early meeting the next morning. I was tired in my bones. Work tired, life tired. At some point, Lynn pressed a drink into my hand. "Relax," she said. "It's the holidays. You're always wound so tight." "I'm good," I said, trying to hand it back. She pushed it closer, smiling too wide. "One drink won't kill you." I didn't want an argument, so I took it. It tasted sweet, like cranberry and something sharper underneath. I took a second sip. Then the room shifted. Then instantly, not dramatic like a movie, just wrong. Like the floor moved half an inch. Like the lights got brighter. Like my own body was suddenly 2 seconds behind my brain. I blinked hard. I told myself I was exhausted. I tried to walk toward the bathroom. My heels wobbled. My vision fuzzed at the edges. I heard Haley laugh somewhere too loud. I heard Lynn's voice close to my ear. "There you go," she murmured. "Loosen up." My heart started pounding. I turned, trying to focus. "Lynn, what did you—" She smiled, eyes glittering. "Don't be dramatic." The next 10 minutes are not clear in my memory. I remember reaching for a wall. I remember someone saying my name like I was in trouble. I remember a hallway, a door, and then the worst part, waking up. Not in my apartment, not in my bed. On a hotel carpet, my head pounding like it was being split open. My dress twisted, my mouth dry, my body heavy and wrong. The room was dim. A suit jacket was draped over a chair. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might vomit. A man's voice came from the bathroom. "Megan?" I froze. Ethan Cross stepped out, sleeves rolled up, face pale like he'd been awake all night. He looked at me like he was afraid to move too fast. "Hey," he said carefully. "You're awake. Thank God." I scrambled upright, panic slicing through the fog. Where am I?" He lifted his hands, palms open. Okay. Listen to me. You were not okay last night." My throat tightened. "What happened?" His jaw clenched. "I don't know the full story. I found you in the hallway. You were stumbling. You looked like you were about to pass out. I asked hotel staff to help, but you..." He swallowed, like the words hurt him. "You kept saying you couldn't go home." Tears burned behind my eyes. "I didn't say that." He nodded. "I know you didn't mean it. You were not coherent. Someone..." His voice dropped. "Someone did something to you." I stared at him, trying to stitch reality together. Then my phone buzzed. One notification after another. My blood ran cold. A group chat. My name trending in my company Slack in the worst way. A blurry clip. Me stumbling, Ethan's arm around me, the angle making it look like something else. A caption someone had added. "Megan Carter gets promoted the easy way." My vision tunneled. I whispered, "Oh my God." Ethan looked like he might punch a wall. "I'm so sorry." I couldn't breathe, because I knew exactly who would do this. I knew exactly whose smile I'd seen right before the room went wrong. I grabbed my phone with shaking fingers and called Lynn. She answered on the second ring, voice bright like sunshine. "Oh, honey, you're alive." "What did you do?" I whispered. She sighed. "There she goes. Drama." My voice cracked. "You drugged me." "Oh, Megan," she said, falsely gentle. "Nobody drugged you. You just can't handle your alcohol." "I wasn't drinking," I said. "I had one drink, the one you gave me." There was a pause, just long enough for me to feel her deciding what lie to use. Then she said flat, "Well, if you're going to accuse me of something insane, don't expect us to clean up your mess." My throat burned. "You posted the video." She laughed. "Haley's young. She posts everything. Don't blame us because you embarrassed yourself." I could barely speak. "You're ruining my career." Her voice sharpened. "Then maybe you should have thought about that before you tried to act better than us." I went cold. This wasn't about a mistake. This was punishment, because I'd started saying no. I hung up. I sat on the edge of that hotel bed, shaking, while Ethan Cross stood there looking like he wanted to help, but didn't know how. And in that moment, I realized something I'd spent years avoiding. My family didn't just take from me. They needed me to fail so they could keep controlling me. I went home. I didn't sleep. I scrubbed my skin until it was red. I stared at my ceiling until sunrise, hearing Lynn's voice in my head like a poison echo. "Don't be dramatic." By Monday morning, HR called me in. My manager's face was tight, not angry, concerned, but the kind of concern that comes with liability. "We need to talk," she said. I walked into that room with my stomach in knots, my career hanging by a thread, and my family already sharpening their story. And I thought, if they can do this to me in public, what will they do next? I didn't know yet that the next move would be the cruelest one, because the scandal wasn't the end. It was the beginning. And the thing they used to destroy me next would take my entire life off course. By the time I walked out of that HR room, my hands were numb. Not shaking, numb. Like my body had decided feeling anything would be too dangerous. My manager didn't yell. She didn't accuse. That somehow made it worse. She slid a folder across the table and said, carefully, "Megan, we need to place you on administrative leave while we review what happened at the gala." Administrative leave. That phrase sounds neutral, professional, temporary. But every woman knows what it really means when it comes wrapped in concern and legal language. It means we're protecting ourselves. She kept talking. Something about optics, about social media, about client confidence. I nodded, because I knew how to nod. I'd been nodding my whole life. But inside, something was cracking, slowly, like ice under weight. When I got back to my desk, my badge no longer worked. Security had already been notified. No one escorted me out, but everyone saw. Coworkers avoided my eyes. A few looked sympathetic. Most looked curious. Curiosity is worse than judgment. I packed my things in silence. My framed degree, a notebook full of color-coded plans. A stress ball shaped like a globe someone once joked I kept spinning. I carried the box to my car and sat there for a long time without starting the engine. My phone buzzed. A text from Lynn. HR called. "We're worried about you." I stared at it until the words blurred. Another message followed. "Your father is heartbroken. He says you should apologize and make this right." Make this right. Like I'd broken something. I didn't respond. I drove home in a fog, autopilot muscle memory guiding me through familiar streets, while my brain replayed flashes from the gala. Lights, laughter, that sickening moment when my balance disappeared. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt that wrongness again. The delay between thought and movement, like my body had been hijacked. At 3:14 a.m., I got up and opened my laptop. I typed my name into Google. The video wasn't on any major sites, but it was everywhere else. Group chats, anonymous forums, a TikTok repost with laughing emojis, a common thread speculating about sleeping her way up. One comment said, "She always looked fake." Another, "These career girls are all the same." I shut the laptop and pressed my palms to my face until my ears rang. At 7 a.m., my phone rang again. Dad. I answered before I could stop myself. "Megan," he said, voice tired, already heavy with disappointment. "What's going on?" I laughed once, sharp and broken. "You tell me." Lynn's voice cut in, too close to the phone. "We're trying to help you." "By destroying me?" I snapped. "Megan," she said, slow and measured. "No one destroyed you. You made choices." I felt something inside me snap. "I was drugged," I said. "You were there. You handed me the drink." She scoffed. "You always rewrite reality when things don't go your way." Dad sighed. "Your stepmom's right. You've been under a lot of stress. Maybe you need help." Help. The word sounded like a cage. I need support, I said. Not this. Well, Lynn replied coolly, support goes both ways. That's when Dad finally spoke again. Your stepmom says the bank called. I closed my eyes. Of course they did. We're behind again, he continued. And after what happened, we don't think it's appropriate for you to come around right now. My chest went hollow. You're banning me, I said. We're setting boundaries, Lynn corrected, without irony. Boundaries. The same word she'd mocked when I used it. You need to focus on fixing your reputation, she went on. Once things calm down, we can talk. I whispered, You're punishing me. Silence. Then Dad said, softly, This is for the best. The call ended. I sat there staring at the wall, feeling like I'd just been erased. The next few days blurred together. HR emails, lawyer speak, friends texting carefully worded, checking in messages that stopped after I didn't reply fast enough. My savings account stared back at me with a number that used to feel safe. Now it felt fragile. On Friday, a certified letter arrived from my father. Inside was a typed notice, Lynn's wording. I knew it instantly. Due to recent events and concerns about stability, you are no longer welcome to reside at or visit the Carter residence. Reside. Visit. Like I'd been crashing on a couch instead of growing up there. At the bottom, my father's signature looked small. I didn't cry. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer. The next blow came quietly. I opened my credit card app to pay my rent. The balance was higher than it should have been. I frowned and opened the statement. There were charges I didn't recognize. Department stores in my hometown, utility payments, a car insurance policy in my name, for a car I didn't own. My heart started racing. I pulled my credit report, and there it was. 2 new credit lines, opened 6 months ago, under my Social Security number. My address listed as my parents' house. I felt dizzy. I called the first bank. They confirmed the account. Opened in person. Signature on file. The name on the signature was mine, but the handwriting wasn't. I hung up and stared at my hands. Lynn. She'd been doing this for months. Routing bills, opening credit, slowly tying my financial identity to theirs so tightly I wouldn't be able to walk away. The spreadsheet, the family expenses. It wasn't just pressure, it was entrapment. I called her. She answered like she'd been waiting. I know, she said before I could speak. My voice shook. You committed fraud. She laughed lightly. Oh, Megan, don't be dramatic. It's family. You used my Social Security number. You authorized us to handle finances, she replied smoothly. I did not. You paid the bills, didn't you? She said. You benefited from the household. I didn't live there, she sighed. Look, if you start making accusations, things will get very ugly. My hands clenched into fists. They already are. She dropped the sweetness. You don't have a job right now, she said coldly. Your reputation is shaky. Do you really want to explain to investigators why your name is on all those accounts? My stomach dropped. That was the moment I realized something crucial. She wasn't panicking. She was confident, because she thought I was trapped. I hung up without another word. That night, I didn't go home. I drove. No destination, just motion. I pulled over in a grocery store parking lot and sat there until dawn, watching employees arrive with coffee cups and tired eyes. I felt like one of them, except I didn't know where I belonged anymore. 2 weeks later, HR made their decision. They called me in and slid another folder across the table. "We're terminating your employment," my manager said quietly. "Without cause." Without cause. The safest phrase for them. They offered severance. I signed, because I needed to eat. When I walked out of that building for the last time, the sky was gray and flat. I sat in my car and finally cried. Deep, shaking sobs that felt like they'd been waiting years for permission. That night, I got sick. Nauseous, dizzy, exhausted. I assumed it was stress, but when it didn't pass, I bought a test. I stood in my bathroom staring at 2 pink lines, my hands trembling so hard I had to sit on the floor. Pregnant. The room spun. My first thought wasn't joy. It was terror. Because I couldn't remember everything that happened that night. Because my life was already falling apart. Because my family would use this against me. I pressed my forehead to my knees and whispered, "I can't do this." But something else surfaced under the fear. A quiet, stubborn pulse. I wasn't alone anymore. A week later, Lynn showed up at my apartment unannounced. I opened the door and saw her standing there like she owned the hallway. "Well," she said, eyes flicking over my face. "You look rough." "What do you want?" I asked. She stepped inside without waiting for permission. "I came to talk about solutions." I crossed my arms. "You committed identity theft." She waved it off. "Exaggeration." "You drugged me." Her eyes hardened. "You have no proof." "I'm pregnant." That stopped her, just for a second. Then her lips curved into a smile that made my skin crawl. "Well," she said, "that explains the drama." Rage surged through me. "Get out!" She leaned closer. "Listen carefully. If you cooperate, if you stop making noise, we can help you. Financially, emotionally." "I don't want your help." "You don't have a job," she said softly. "You don't have savings anymore. And now you have a problem." She glanced at my stomach like it was a defect. "Family sticks together," she continued, "but only when everyone behaves." I opened the door. "Get out of my apartment," I said, voice shaking with fury. Her smile vanished. "You think you're strong," she hissed, "but you're nothing without us." She stepped into the hallway, turned, and delivered the line that burned itself into my memory. "When this baby ruins your life, don't come crying to us." I slammed the door. I slid down against it, shaking. That was my breaking point. Not losing my job, not the video, not even the fraud. It was the certainty in her voice, the belief that I would fail. That night, I made a decision. I stopped trying to survive quietly. I started planning. I didn't tell anyone at first. Not about the pregnancy, not about the credit fraud, not about how close I was to breaking. I learned quickly that when your life collapses, people want explanations. But explanations turn into opinions, and opinions turn into judgments. So I went quiet. I moved out of my apartment 2 weeks later, after my severance cleared, and my rent renewal notice arrived with a number that felt like a threat. I packed what fit into my car and left the rest behind like it was already someone else's life. I checked into a budget motel off the interstate, one of those places that smells like cleaning chemicals and old carpet and despair you can't scrub out. The front desk clerk didn't ask questions. She slid the key across the counter and said, "Coffee's out at 6." I thanked her like she'd done me a favor. The first night there, I lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, one hand on my stomach, feeling the hum of traffic through the walls. I whispered, "It's just us." And for the first time since the gala, I believed it. I picked up work wherever I could, temp agencies, short contracts, remote coordination gigs that didn't require my face or my reputation, just competence. I worked nights because mornings were for nausea and exhaustion. I learned which gas stations had the cleanest bathrooms, which grocery stores marked down produce on Tuesdays. I learned humility in small, sharp ways, like counting dollars at the register while the cashier waited, like pretending I wasn't listening when someone at the motel said, "Another one," under their breath. I stopped checking social media. I focused on routines. Wake up, work, eat something, sleep, repeat. At 12 weeks, I had my first ultrasound. The clinic was crowded. Women sat alone or with partners, scrolling on their phones, all of us pretending this was normal. The technician turned the screen toward me. "There," she said gently. "Heartbeat." It was fast and strong. I covered my mouth, tears spilling before I could stop them. In that moment, something shifted. This wasn't just about surviving anymore. This was about protection. I needed stability. I needed the truth. And I needed to stop letting Lynn control the story. I started with the credit accounts. I filed a police report, not because I believed justice would come quickly, but because paper trails matter. The officer listened carefully, asked questions, nodded. "This is serious," he said. "Family cases like this, they're messy." "I know," I replied. "But you're doing the right thing," he said. "Get documentation, everything." So I did. I pulled bank statements, emails, texts. I found old messages where Lynn had asked for my social security number for insurance paperwork, where she'd told me, "Don't worry, I'll handle it." I printed everything. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I asked for help. Not from my family, from professionals. Legal aid clinics, women's advocacy groups, a nonprofit that specialized in financial abuse. The woman who met with me, a lawyer named Denise, didn't flinch when I told her everything. She nodded slowly and said, "This is coercive control." I blinked. "What?" "It's a pattern," she explained. "Isolation, financial entanglement, reputation sabotage, threats masked as concern." Hearing it named made my chest ache. "It feels like I'm crazy," I admitted. She met my eyes. "You're not. You're targeted." That word hit me hard. Targeted. Not weak, not dramatic. Chosen. Because I was capable. Denise helped me map out next steps. Dispute the accounts. Freeze my credit. Document harassment. And then she asked, gently, "What do you want long term?" I thought of my child. "I want safety," I said, "and a clean life." She nodded. "Then we build toward that." Around this time, Ethan Cross reached out. He sent a single email. No pressure, No assumptions. Subject, checking in. Body. Megan, I don't know if you want to hear from me. I won't contact you again if you don't. I just wanted to say, I'm still concerned about what happened, and if you ever want to talk, professionally or otherwise, I'm here. I stared at the screen for a long time. Part of me wanted to delete it. Another part, the tired, honest part, wanted answers. I replied. We met in a quiet cafe halfway between our worlds. He looked different, less polished, more human. I'm sorry, he said immediately. About everything. I took a breath. I need to know what you remember. He didn't hesitate. I found you in the hallway, he said. You were disoriented. I asked staff for help. They were overwhelmed. You asked not to be left alone. Tears burned my eyes. Did I consent to anything? No, he said firmly. Nothing happened. I stayed because I was worried. I slept on the chair. Relief crashed through me so hard I had to grip the table. He continued. The video. I didn't know it existed until later. I should have protected you better. You did, I said softly. More than my own family. We sat in silence for a moment. Then I told him about the pregnancy. His face drained of color. I don't remember everything, I said quickly. I don't know. We'll find out, he said. Together, whatever that means. We agreed to a DNA test when the time came, not as a demand, but as clarity. And something else happened in that conversation. He told me he'd requested security footage from the hotel that night, for his own records months earlier. It showed you being handed a drink, he said, by a woman matching your stepmother's description. My pulse spiked. Do you still have it? He nodded. Yes. That was the moment the plan truly formed. Not revenge, not exposure for spectacle, but accountability. We worked carefully. Denise coordinated with Ethan's legal team. We compiled evidence, footage, timestamps, messages, financial records. We didn't rush. Because when you've been underestimated your whole life, the smartest move is patience. My pregnancy advanced. I moved from the motel into a small studio apartment subsidized through a women's housing program. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. I set up a crib from a thrift store. I painted one wall a soft green. I played music and talked to my baby about calm and safety. I learned how to be gentle with myself. Then the letter arrived. From Lynn's attorney. It accused me of defamation, threatened legal action if I continued spreading false narratives. I handed it to Denise. She smiled, a tight, professional smile. Good, she said. They're scared. The final piece fell into place when the DNA results came back. Ethan was the father. He sat with his hands folded, eyes wet, voice steady. I want to be involved, he said, in a way that respects you. I nodded. That's all I ask. Together, we finalized the plan. Not public yet, not loud, but precise. Because the truth doesn't need volume, it needs timing. We didn't announce anything. No posts, no statements, no warnings. That was the hardest part, staying silent when my whole body wanted justice immediately. But silence, when it's intentional, becomes power. Denise filed the first motion on a Tuesday morning. Financial abuse, identity fraud, coercive control. Attached were exhibits, pages and pages of evidence, clean, organized, unemotional. The hotel footage was included. So were the credit applications. So were the text messages where Lynn asked for my social security number, followed by, "I'll take care of everything." The next move wasn't court. It was a family meeting. Denise advised against it. Ethan didn't love the idea, but I needed it. Not for closure, for clarity. I asked my father to meet me at a neutral place, a diner halfway between our homes, somewhere public but quiet. He arrived alone. That surprised me. He looked smaller than I remembered, older. His hands shook slightly as he wrapped them around a coffee mug. "Megan," he said, like the word itself was heavy. I didn't hug him. I sat across the table and placed a folder between us. "I'm pregnant," I said. His head snapped up. "What?" "I'm keeping the baby," I continued, "and I need you to listen, not interrupt, not explain, just listen." He nodded slowly. I slid the first page toward him, credit statements, then the next, then the hotel stills. His face drained of color as he flipped through them. "That can't be right," he whispered. "It is," I said, "and you need to understand something very clearly. This didn't happen because I'm weak. It happened because you stayed silent." His eyes filled with tears. "I didn't know." "You didn't want to know," I replied. He looked up, voice breaking. "Lynn said you were unstable." I leaned forward. "She said that because it worked. Because you believed her. Because it was easier than protecting your daughter." The word daughter landed between us like a truth neither of us could avoid anymore. He cried then, quietly, publicly, the kind of crying men do when they finally run out of denial. "I failed you," he said. "Yes," I replied. "You did." That was the hardest sentence I've ever spoken. "I'm not here to punish you," I continued. "I'm here to tell you what happens next." I took a breath. "There will be consequences, legal ones, financial ones. Lynn will not have access to me or my child, ever." He nodded, defeated. "And if you want a relationship with us," I added, "it will be on my terms. Boundaries, therapy, accountability." He swallowed. "I'll do whatever it takes." I stood up. "Good," I said. "Because I'm done doing whatever it takes for everyone else." 2 weeks later, Lynn was served. At her workplace. In front of colleagues. The irony didn't escape me. Her attorney tried intimidation first, then dismissal, then negotiation. But the evidence didn't bend. The hotel footage alone shattered her narrative. The fraud charges stuck. Haley tried to distance herself publicly, deleted posts, vague captions about toxic family dynamics. It didn't work. Because once the truth enters the room, silence doesn't protect liars anymore. The civil case settled quietly. No dramatic courtroom scenes, no viral headlines, just accountability. Lynn lost access to credit, lost social standing, lost control, and most importantly, lost me. My father moved out. He entered therapy. Slow steps, real ones. I didn't rush forgiveness. I didn't need to. My life was already moving forward. I gave birth on a rainy Thursday morning. Ethan was there, calm, steady, present. Our daughter arrived healthy, loud, and stubborn. When the nurse placed her on my chest, Something inside me finally unclenched. I whispered, "You're safe." And I meant it. Life didn't become perfect. It became honest. I took a new job, consulting this time. Flexible, respectful, built on my terms. I set boundaries without explaining myself. I stopped apologizing for surviving. Sometimes, late at night, I think about the woman I used to be, the one who thought love meant endurance. I wish I could reach back through time and tell her this. You are not strong because you carry everything. You are strong because you decide what you will no longer carry. To the women watching this who feel invisible, used, or quietly exhausted, if they only value you when you're useful, they don't love you. They rely on you. And reliance without respect is not family. It's exploitation. Walking away doesn't make you selfish. It makes you free. And freedom changes everything.